Bachman Sparrow. Another bird distressed by the diminishment of the longleaf pine forest is Bachman Sparrow. Small and non-migratory, a bird so suited to open pine savannas with little to no understory that it has been unable to adapt to dense pine monoculture. Since the 1930s, it has declined at a stunning rate. Bird artist John James Audubon discovered the sparrow in 1832 while exploring near Charleston, South Carolina, and named it for a Lutheran minister he had befriended on the street and with whom he was staying, John Bachman. Bachman sparrow is streaked buffy gray, with a shadowy bill and a long dark brown rounded tail. It measures 6 inches from bill to tail tip, about the size of most sparrows. It has sometimes been referred to as stink bird by quail hunters because hunting dogs can be distracted by the scent of ground-dwelling sparrows. This letter I imagine penned in the great beyond by John James Audubon and sent to his dear friend, Reverend Bachman. My dear John, remember, if you will, the small finch I discovered within a scant hour's walk of your home when we both dwelled briefly on the good earth. Although I was myself a visitor in your godly mansion, where hospitality and kindness were nonpareil, neither of us understood then how thoroughly each of us was visitor. I am reminded of this passerun of late due to increased sightings of them here in the ethereal longleaf pine groves of our Lord. They have become quite abundant on my rambles, which can mean only one thing. They become less so in the world below. I welcome the blessed sparrow. Consider how dull our colleagues thought it when we first brought it to the attention of science. Its humbleness so neatly matched your own. There only in song could it display its absolute glory, the morning's loud, clear whistle, followed by a shower of operatic notes. This from the males. The dawn I introduced you to your namesake, we walked through a grassy opening in the pine lands. Such were the slants of fresh sun through the translucence of fog that once felt he might tug himself up into the heavens by means of one of them. Such were the slants of fresh sun through the translucence of fog that one felt he might tug himself up into the heavens by means of one of them. The forest, out of focus, but immediate, was surreal, as grand as anything ever I saw, and as you know, my short life on earth was spent in constant search of the beauty of God's creation. That morning, if memories of the terrestrial world serve us, we were speaking of my travels in the Florida Keys, and the rapture of seeing roseate spoonbills. You recited a verse to me from Genesis about the 6th day of creation. And God saw everything he had made, and behold, it was very good. To think that we were loath to leave that earth. One of the sparrows began to call, not unusual for them in late summer, and I fell silent. The plaintive yet sweet notes ended. Then, because we were close enough and listening intently, we heard its whisper song. The notes it sings, sotto voce. Bachman sparrow, I said. You nodded humbly and smiled. Purely by chance, we came upon a female nesting in a grassy dome she had erected over a shallow depression. The nest was shielded by a clump of palmettos, and we happened upon it by watching a bird disappear, then going to that entrance. It was not yet May, and 3 glossy white eggs cradled in her nest. Later I found nests with 4 and 5 eggs, never more, and I learned that the young hatched within a matter of 10 revolutions of the planet. Sir, not long ago I was with St. Francis and some of the angels when passenger pigeons crossed overhead. The only darkness I have ever witnessed here is the temporary one created by the shadows of their crowded wings. In the deafening chorus of their cries, St. Francis turned to me, eyes a twinkle, and said he felt as if he'd died and gone to heaven. I have no reference for the length of time we stood beneath their flight. Your sparrow seems happy here, although its presence in such abundance does not bode well for our dear ones left on earth. The creature was never common. Not long ago, Mr. Peterson, a man who loved birds with the passion of Christ, as I did, came to be with us. I heard his arrival and made the journey to welcome him. He recognized immediately my name when I spake it, and beams of light poured from his eyes. He could not contain his excitement. "John James," he said, "I have wished all my life to thank you for the paintings." So overcome was he, I offered to take him to the floodplain of the river, where ivory-billed woodpeckers forage in virgin deciduous trees. When he saw them, tears issued from his eyes, as a man bereaved who finds loss restored, and is suddenly aware of the profundity and vastness of his heartbreak. Ruby-throated hummingbirds hovered beneath his chin and drank the tears that spilled from his eyes. I told him I had been unable to look upon the world of flesh of late, and inquired of the state of affairs below. He described large and ever-growing cities where millions of people are crowded. Their water is not fit to drink. More and more they forget the ways of birds and snakes and butterflies, and the marks of seasons vanish. They hide from stillness and darkness. Much of the tall grass prairie is gone, he reported, as are the spruce fir forests of the southern Appalachians, the blue-grass savanna of Kentucky, sage mountains of Wisconsin. Little is left of the pillows prairie of the west and the pine rocklands of southern Florida. Only a few thousand acres of virgin old-growth longleaf pine remain. As the old longleaf savannas are logged, he said, your sparrows are unable to nest in the dense underbrush that springs up. The bird prefers older stands because the thick ground cover means safety. Cleared forests are only briefly suitable before woody undergrowth shades out the forbs and the broadleaf flowering plants. The last he'd heard, the songbird was extirpated from Maryland, almost gone from Tennessee, Virginia, and Georgia, and in serious decline in Florida, where he had recently seen them. I have sent a Carolina parakeet to deliver this message. I promised to shower Roger the herds of bison. I promised to show Roger the herds of bison after the Feast of Forgiveness. If you wish to accompany us, we would be grateful. I have sent an invitation to St. Francis as well. We can pass through the longleaf on the way to the prairie. For a second time, I will be able to show you the bird who honorably bears your name. If we are fortunate, red wolves will be calling. Your affectionate servant, John James Audubon.